Hari Om. We'll start with a prayer. Om. 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 Om Sahana Vavatu Sahana Bhunatu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvanavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरं हरिः ओं श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ओं हरि ओं Hari Om and a very good morning to everyone who have joined today. I am Brahmacharni Tarini, and today we are going to have a look at this topic. Chosen topic is lift yourself by yourself. Right now, if I may ask any of you who are present, which chapter is this verse from? This lift yourself by yourself is popularly taken from the Bhagavad Gita. Anyone knows which is the verse? You can raise your hand and then we'll unmute you. Anyone? Or even if you remember a bit of the Sanskrit verse, you don't have to know which chapter is which verse, not like that. But even if you feel that, okay, yes, Ramchandra ji has raised his hand. Yes.
Chapter Uttare Atmanam Atmanam Avasadi
Correct.
Atmano Bandhu Atnai Varipuratmanaha.
Correct. So this is from the 5th verse of Gita chapter 6. Correct, Ramchandran ji? Right. So this normally what happens is that when we remember the verse, we remember only the first part of it, right? Lift yourself by yourself. Then the other part of it is as important, right? And of course this learning applies to anything in life, be it now more and more so when we are more confined to our work from home, or more of sitting jobs, etc. Then what happens is that even that small fall, right, lifting ourselves by ourselves becomes slightly difficult, right? So therefore more even physically now, right, that lift yourself by yourself is much more relevant in today's day and age, where be it our physical health, be it the food and diet that we are now approaching for our life, right, and much more for the mental health that we are looking at in our lives. This becomes an important part of our self discipline. And now today we are just going to look at it, because we have this one session, right? So we are going to look at it from our own personal perspective. How are we looking at ourselves from the perspective of being a strong individual? Or are we even attributing this adjective of strong or perfection to ourselves, right? So of course we have already begun with a prayer. Now this instruction was given by Bhagwan, right? Bhagwan Shri Krishna to Arjuna, right? And it was not, of course it was in the battlefield. It was not somewhere, in solitude, sitting across, the table, or, sitting somewhere next to a river or leisurely. No, this was right there in the battlefield, just as Arjuna is approaching his duty as a Kshatriya, right? Where Arjuna is facing his own inaptitude, or his own inabilities and weaknesses, where he suddenly, on seeing his friends and foes across from him at the battlefield, not that he was not aware that whom he is going to face in battle is his own friends, but suddenly it comes all rushing to him, and he says that no, this is not fair, and I can't fight people who are my own, and I'm going to do an injustice, or I'm going to go against dharma. And then, of course, Bhagavan Sri Krishna, he reminds him of what his true duties are, and the fear that has come in, right? He's trying to raise Arjuna from this fear that he has himself pulled out onto himself, right? And therefore, this instruction is so much more valid to any of us now, because we might not be facing enemies in battle, we might not be in Kurukshetra, right? But we are here, right here, in the battle of life, in our day to day duties, in our day to day ups and downs of people, and accomplishments, be it our duties as parents, as employers, as entrepreneurs, right? Or teachers, or even, be it our duties towards our own parents, etc. We face our own battles, and we also develop our own relationship with the world and become dependent on it. So, therefore, when we say this, lift yourself by yourself, right? The immediate image which crops is that, hmm, do I need to lift myself by myself? I'll need a coach, I'll need someone for guidance, just as Arjuna had Krishna, right? I need someone. So where is that someone for me, right? And therefore, here too, in this beautiful instruction which Bhagwan is given to Arjuna, which is any of us, right? He is directly addressing us, and he is not mincing words. He's telling us directly, Uddharet atmanatmanam natmanam avasadayet atmaiva yatmano bandhuhu atmaiva ripuratmanah. Right? So here, Gurudev, in in his series of talks on art of man making, which he had done for the youth in on the All India radio, right? He had said that, man must lift himself by himself, and having lifted himself, let him not allow himself to be dragged down. For this self alone is your friend, and indeed this self alone is your enemy, right? So now here, when we examine this verse, right, are we saying that, because most of us who are here, we would have done some kind of a study of Vedanta, and then we are aware what that self is, right? We are aware that that self is that Atma, that Satchit Ananda, right? Then you will say that, but that self which is that Atma, Vedanta tells us that, this self is, it is Nirakara, Nirguna, Nischala, right? Then how do you say that it becomes my enemy, and how do you say that it becomes my friend, right? You say that in Vedanta, in so many ways it is being told, or is kind of being proved also through various logic, through Nyaya, etc., that Atma is self-illumining, Swaprakash, but it is still that which is not actually doing anything. It is, and it is myself, it is my true nature. So, how then is this self my enemy, and how then is this self my friend, right? So, having put this in context, now let us see what this instruction is actually meaning, right? So, when we are saying uddharet atmanatmanam, Bhagavan is very clearly saying that lift yourself by yourself. Hmm? So mostly when we are looking for help, when we have had a fall, it might not necessarily be a physical fall. It will be definitely a mental fall which we battle with daily in and out of our transactions. We might not even move out of our home. It might be our own, the maid servant who comes and suddenly, if she's late and or she does something unexpected, immediately one battle ensues. And then you think, like, at the end of it, you realize, but did I have to, you know, did I have to go through so much of agitation? Was that not my fault? Right? And especially we face this when we are on the path as seekers, and and we have ourselves told ourselves that, let's keep the sadhana of being quiet, of being still, of being balanced in all kinds of situations, be it the weather, be it the electricity, suddenly power failure goes. So, suddenly, the climate outside is also hot, right? So, Shitoshna Shukha Dukkheshu. So, all these pairs of opposites that we face, be it hot or cold, the climate, be it, joys and sorrows that we come across, right? Be it mana apamana, be it, some kind of criticism or some kind of praise, there is always the elation and there is always the depression also, right? So, how do I face these, right? And these falls, they are not even predictable sometimes. Sometimes out of nowhere, you know, we drop down into the doldrums of sorrow and we say that I don't know, especially nowadays, even young women and older, when they are going through their monthly time, etc., many of them come back and they say that, I don't know how to face such a situation. I am at a loss. Sometimes I'm crying, and sometimes there is such a spurt of anger. I can't control my emotions. So, how is this happening? So, this fall that we inadvertently face in our lives, it is born of our own prior experiences of raga dvesha, which have resulted in, further me wanting to indulge in those kind of, experiences over and over, which leads to habits, which also, leads sometimes to inhibitions that I have to, expose myself to again similar situation where I have not really, performed to my potential, where I say that no, this is not my area, where I'm totally at a loss and I say that nowadays technology is just running fast. There is now, though, children here, I have not even caught up with understanding how to use operate a computer or the any of the new apps, and now there is this AI. This has also become my, another reason for competition. But in this competitive world, it is my own passions, my own lust, my own selfishness, or my own greed to have more, right? Or my own prior inhibitions of doing or exposing myself to certain kind of experiences, or even, categorizing certain people as something, or certain experiences as something, which stops me from actually participating in life, right? So it is the anxieties of the past, it is the or rather it is the fear that has come in out of my past experiences, or the anxieties that I face in terms of the future, which keep me from participating in life itself. But then you would say, then how do I rise, and whom do I look for help? you know because normally when there is a fall, I look for that hand of assistance, or when I am down, I look for that shoulder who can give me a bit of reprieve, you know and who can say that, yeah, just some TLC is required, right? Some tender loving care is required. Who will give it to me, right? So, and where do I look for that friend? Right. And then here Bhagwan says that, one is that, he cautions us in two ways. He says, fine, you have fallen, you have acknowledged yourself, that I have fallen. That itself is a positive, right? So you should definitely raise your hand and give yourself a pat on the back that, yes, I have understood that I have, fallen in terms of certain negativities that I am indulging myself into, right? And I have seen a pattern of these negativities manifest in myself. Hmm. And having done that, now what? So, having done that, Bhagwan says, now that you have bounced out of that situation, right? Don't let yourself fall again. So he says, Nadmanam avasadayet. Having once risen, don't let off your guard and slip back into that ravine, or that valley of black darkness. Right? So what then is required there? It is discipline. It is abhyasa, repetition of that discipline in my life is important. That one, as a sadhaka, you know as a sadhaka, or a seeker, I recognize the patterns that are there, which are part of my life, which have become those, which are, prominently there in terms of the habits that I have formed over lifetimes. There, it is not just this life, right? It might have come over lifetimes, and these have become the vasanas that I am running sometimes away from, but I'm not able to overcome them. So how do I then stay away from them? These vasanas, you're also telling that, vasanas, or these negative tendencies, or even the positive tendencies, they too are vasanas only, right? They are impressions which have come to form over, repeated actions, repeated desires that I have indulged myself into, right? So now how do I come out of those? One is to have the discipline to and the alertness to recognize these shortfalls in my nature as this individual, as this jiva, right? I have certain ways that I respond to situations. If I am able to see these weaknesses in myself, then definitely, having made that observation, I should be able to be satarka, be alert, and not fall in the same trap again and again, right? And therefore, there, that abhyasa and that discipline is required, right? Over and over, I have to be able to control these kind of situations. So, who is that one who is going to control? And who is that one who is going to be my, support through these situations? If you are saying that, um, it is not always going to be an external help, right? Because if we see in the world, right, if we are looking for our own evolution, our own unfoldment, then for that we ourselves have to rise up to that challenge. We cannot be weak any longer. Having risen to that knowledge of the self, having done even a little bit of Shravana, if I have come to know that my true nature is that of being such it Ananda, right? How then I can I stoop so low and be petty and give in to the weaknesses of my heart, of these emotions, right? Then therefore I have to know who is my friend and who exactly is my enemy. So he says, Atmaiva Yatmano Bandhuhu, Atmaiva Ripuratmanaha. Your own self, the ego, is your own friend, and your own self, again, the ego, is your own enemy. So here, when we say that this ego is the friend and this ego is the enemy, that is at our lower levels of understanding, right? So what then is this ego? This ego that boasts of all my accomplishments. I did it, right? I accomplished it. Sometimes even the negativities we highlight and we say that, how I got angry and my God, I blasted that person. Is that going to help me? It is not, na? At the end of the day, that same agitation is going to come and trouble me. And that same agitation is going to give me sleepless nights, right? So who then is my foe, or who then is my guide in this? Who is it who's going to take me through these experiences? It is other than my self. That self, which is nirguna, nirakara, nischala, which is not doing anything, it is only sakshi to all these events in my life. So when we say I am sakshi, what am I doing? I am not really participating in that. As in, I am not acting, or I am not going to trigger something, nor am I going to, trigger the result, nor am I going to trigger the action itself, right? So the being that sakshi, then you will say that, oh, are you saying, when there is some kind of situation, or any transaction, if some injustice is being done, then I should just be quiet and not do anything? Are you saying that? This is no. That which has to be actioned is going to happen through this individual, through this jiva. And who is going to action it? It is going to be either an educated, controlled, in control intellect, with the help of a, with the help of a obedient mind. That is our friend. Or the uncontrolled, uneducated intellect, which is unable to therefore control that mind, right? Which therefore then will allow all kinds of chaos to happen in my life, right? That is my foe, that is my enemy, right? So therefore, again, this is explained in the next verse, right, where he says, bandhuratma manastasya येनात्मैवात्मना जितः अनात्मनस्तु शत्रुत्वे वर्तेतात्मैव शत्रुवत्. So one who has conquered his ego by his own intellect, right? For that, for that self, right? To him, the intellect personality is ever going to be the friend. And the one who has an unconquered intellect, who indeed behaves, that kind of intellect having no control, then therefore is going to become our own foe or our own enemy, right? Because then I have no control over my negativities. I do observe them to be there, but I'm unable to actually have a control over them. like the in the Mahabharata, there is the analogy given of the chariot, right? Where the intellect is the one who is the charioteer, who is holding the reins of the mind, right? And that mind is the reins as in those ropes that are holding together the horses, right? And the horses are what? The five horses, right? Which are our senses. Hmm? If they are uncontrolled, if they are undisciplined, what is going to happen? By nature, they will go towards all kinds of indulgences in their field of vishayas, of sense objects, right? Because that is instinctively coming to them, right? The senses will go towards the sense objects. But who holds them in control? It is that mind. It is that mind which is not just going to listen in to what the senses are saying, but also going to instruct the senses when to act and how to act, right? And who is holding this mind in control? It is that charioteer, which is the controlled or conquered intellect, right? Which is the decision making faculty, right? It is the decision making faculty which says that this is as per dharma, this is as per adharma, this is going to lead to your peace, this is going to take you away from your peace. So how do you then operate? Then you operate as per what that intellect is saying. When that intellect is educated, is knowing the value of values, is knowing the value of taking the pause when it has to be taken, is knowing the value of just being a witness to situations rather than reacting in situations, right? So that intellect has to be one, in satsang, has to be educated of what is right, what is wrong, what is the good of this individual for one's own evolution, right? So this intellect definitely needs a guru to begin with, right? Or this intellect is the one who requires the guidance from time to time, right? But if this is not, if we are not allowing ourselves to gain that kind of guidance, if we are not allowing ourselves to further ourselves into that discipline, then what is going to happen? Then we are allowing ourselves to be attacked in various ways, to be uh, taken astray from, with all life situations, right? So, therefore, then what is important? One is to be in satsang, two is to use those values, implement those values in our own lives, right? And and then therefore that intellect will be in control of the mind, will give the right instructions to that mind, and not run away with all thoughts that the or all emotions that the mind puts in us, right? Of course, daily we face these kinds of ups and downs, when there are times when we are facing very different kind of situations where everything is pulling us down, and yet somewhere, when we have the faith, when we have that shraddha, we are able to hold on to our emotions and take charge of those situations and see ourselves through, right? So where does that bala come from? That bala comes from, as we call it as the manobala only, right? That bala comes from repeated assertion of positives in our life, repeated assertion of the values or the right samskaras which have come about as a result of our own upbringing, as a result of our own positive experiences that have come about, right? And to do that, to have that kind of strength, what then is important? That we expose ourselves over and over to such learnings, be it through satsanga, be it through our own day to day strength in terms of physical exercise, in terms of yoga, in terms of the right breathing, in terms of the right inputs of anna, in terms of the right inputs of thoughts, even, right? So, just we will look at a few practices that can be taken up, right? So, how do I go about this? Because mainly, people say that, oh, Vedanta is just telling me about the truth, right? But then, how do I practice it? Is it even practical? That fine, I know that, I am this Satchit Ananda, but then how do I implement it? Because all around me, life is life is expressing in terms of not just various desires, in terms of various experiences. Every day there is competition in life. Every day there is a new challenge to be met, be it external or internal. There is so much of upheaval, there is so much of change happening, and if I don't adapt to that change, how will I survive in this game, right? So more so for the sadhaka, for a seeker, this the challenges in life are always pulling us, and we seek those small, simple, practices that we can take up, which will give us that strength to lift ourselves by ourselves. How do we go about that? So here are just a few that I have put down, right? One is clarity in knowledge. How will that come about? That will come about through Shravana, right? Having gained the knowledge, right? I might over and over do Shravana, because you will say that, oh, but I am listening to 4 talks a week. I am also trying, and I have enrolled myself in the SIF courses also. There is the Swadhyay, and there is some camp also I'm attending, and this I do annually, right? Yes, that's good, but how much of the churning is happening? Having done Shravana, fine, I have become aware of my true nature, which earlier I was completely ignorant about, right? And through listening to talks on the Bhagavad Gita or any of the Upanishads or any of the Prakran Granthas, yes, I have become aware. And to understand bit better, I have also started learning Sanskrit, right? And that is helping me. But is there clarity in the understanding of that knowledge? Or do I have more doubts? Am I taking part, or am I discussing this knowledge that I am listening to? Am I discussing with someone? I might not have doubt. I might not have that even thought of, how this understanding that I have might not be true in someone else's eyes, right? So this kind of manana, this churning has to happen, right? and and unless we bring it about through various reflection exercises that we can take up, right? It might be a group discussion among my friends, right? Or like-minded people who are attending the same kind of course that I am attending, right? So this kind of churning is required, right? So I might suddenly come up with a doubt, and then later I might say, "Kya re, nahi, nahi, now, right now, I have to finish my duties. I have to finish my cooking. I have to do my project, etc. No time to think about it. Jot it down. Note it down. Daily, if I'm able to jot down certain learnings, certain experiences that I have had in that day, that's the best way to know how my mind is progressing. No one but me myself can know how or what is the nature of my mind, right? How it is going from one negative to another, or you know sometimes we are in such a rajas mode or such a tamas mode that we are not able to come out of it. Hmm? And otherwise we are really good natured, we are all the time smiles, all the time sharing the goodness, but sometimes we just go down the doldrums. So how do I rise out of myself? Yes, note note it and let not your mind go towards it again. My weaknesses only I will know, the weaknesses of my mind only I will know, and how to come out of it, I will have to keep prodding my own intellect towards it, right? But for that, first and foremost, what is important? Clarity in my knowledge is important. And therefore, there has to be some kind of reflection exercises that I take up for myself, right? The next part of it is slow down. You know, normally also, na, what happens? We are in a rush already. Uh, the child has got a plate, breakfast got delayed, the tea fell down, cleaning up, making sure the bags etc is filled and everything, and then we are rushing out to drop the child, right? And in that rush, what has happened? Many errors have happened, right? And then what is going to happen? Inadvertently the day is going to go bad, right? Why? Because I have let my mind go into that agitation mode because of one wrong that happened, right? And this happens to all of us, okay? You will say that, Are, you are telling the you know, Grahastha's life story. But no, it might happen to anyone. Hmm? Even someone who is living in solitude, right? So to say, also everyone has our own faults, right? So what is important then is to learn to slow down. Just as there is traffic signals, right? In the cities we have traffic signals at various points, or a speed breaker is in place to slow us down, so too life situations give us those speed breakers, or they put in signals. Bhagwan sends signals, but sometimes we say कि ignore karo, let's just rush past, we have to go, right? But it is important to slow down for our own goodness, for our own progress. Because if we ignore, over time, what is going to happen? That which we were going to try to sublimate is going to get suppressed and burst. Okay. So then, therefore, what is important is this slowing down process. How do I slow down? Are you telling me to sit down in one place? But वो तो होता नहीं है, you know. It is not always possible to sit and just meditate, right? Start with japa. Take the japa mala, right? Initially, even japa is going to be difficult, but keep at it. Keep at it, right? It is going to give its own fruit, and the japa itself can lead you to dhyana, towards meditation. How? That japa basically is what? It is that slowing down of thoughts. Initially, when you do japa, you will see that so fast you will go, and in fact, you will not be able to you know notice. Also, you will say, "Ki, what is the use? My thoughts keep crowding in. I'm not able to progress. Also, doesn't matter. Do ucha, do loud japa to begin with. Hmm? Say the name, also do the beats, right? If you feel that doing likhita japa also works, go ahead, do likhita japa also. Choose the mantra of your choice. Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram, Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram. Give yourself, schedule it in your calendar that daily, I will write one page of this mantra. Increase it as you go, right? You will see that you will find joy in it. From there, move on to taking the japa mala and practice doing the beads, right? Again, as I said, initially it will not happen, doesn't matter. So initially, when just before sitting in, you know like how you would you would try to have a sleep routine, where you will slowly close shop. तो क्या करेंगे first? You will freshen yourself, don your night clothes, shut off the lights, close everything, do close whatever duties. What if you are wanting to even sit down and put the fan on, be in a very closed kind of environment where you will close out even the lights. Keep the phone away. That is most important, right? Because now that is the most hindrance that is there to going closer to ourselves, right? Because what are we doing? We are just going one after the other, not able to control, and that the sleep also goes away. So just as we have a routine to put ourselves to sleep, right, by shutting one thing after the other, when you are exhausted and the mind is slowly tuning itself and saying that I need to sleep, I need to sleep, and slowly the thought of sleep merges into sleep. No longer there is that thought even, right? Daily we are doing this, right? So too it is with the japa. So when you are going to that japa, what can you do? Sit down in a quiet place at a quiet time when no one else is going to bother you, right? And do that japa, right? Or even before that, what can you do before that? If you need to sit down and quieten yourself by reading some small text that you like to do, by chanting some bhajan, right? Go ahead and do that. And then when you are at peace with yourself, do the japa. Hmm? And the japa is nothing but choosing your thoughts. Where here the thought choosing is first, of course, to drop the thoughts which are not the japa, right? And then focusing on that one japa only. If it is Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, right? So then we are going towards that Om Namah Shivaya alone. Hmm? So this practice is going to help us even in our day-to-day transactions, in our day-to-day duties. When thoughts that are coming are not towards my duty, not towards the action at hand, then keep them away. Then the mind is disciplined to drop those, right? And this slowing down is important for us, because the more we learn to be, not getting into multiple activities at a time, but a single focus kind of frame of mind, the more success we have in whatever we do, right? Then the other part is, many situations come that provoke us, right? That provoke us to drop that quietude and jump out, right? So what then do we do? Take a pause, delay that reaction, right? Delay that reaction so that you are not at agitation, right? Who needs to be quietened? Not that other person. You can't, it is not possible for you to change the world in one day. And definitely not the other person, right? You might think that, like, in this is to my own child, or this is my own husband, or this is my own friend. Still, each person has their own way of functioning. Whom can you be in control of? You can be in control of yourself, right? So then, therefore, take that pause, delay your reaction, right? Then what about the other person? That other person is totally wrong all the time, is doing so many negative things. I can't really stop. So stop thinking of that other person, right? Or rather, of course, you can't stop thinking about that. Means There are going to be, when it is your team, when it is your family, definitely you will say that I need to be there, right? I need to be in sync with that person, right? But when will this syncing happen? That syncing will happen when we are at the same thought level, when we are at peace with each other. When we are saying we are at peace with each other, what do we mean? Then we are connecting with that Asti Bhati Priyam, right? That Satchit Ananda which is in me, which is also in you, which is the one only, right? When we are in sync, that syncing is going to give the best of results. The best of efficiency will come about in that kind of a team. So, how do I then do it? Then, therefore, I drop expectations where I need not, right? Don't put in expectations, you know. But in family, especially in our Indian culture, that everyone has their duties, and how can you say that I should not have these expectations, etc. Be patient, just as you would want that the other people accept me, the other people love me, the other people bring about a sense of belonging. You too can do that, right? So what is important there then? Practice of love and understanding. Where there is love, there is bound to be understanding, there is bound to be patience, right? If it does not happen now, it will happen now. If we are able to forgive that little fall on the other person's part, then we can also forgive ourselves when we have a fall, right? So it is more of this kind of an understanding that is important, right? Then one more thing that we have to keep in mind is that don't boast the negativities, right? When we have our own negativities, we are feeling bad about it, true, right? We are feeling bad about it, and we also justify it. And I did my best, and how could she not accept my project? I put in 100%. I did so much of research, etc. And but then I also got angry. I also threw it at her face and went, yes, what are we doing? We are arguing for our own limitations. And then therefore what is going to happen? Then therefore they are going to remain with us forever, right? So accept our limitations, yes. Strengthen the weakness, yes. But don't defend them, don't argue for them, right? Rather, see the weaknesses for what they are, and let's work at improving or coming out of those weaknesses, right? This is that essential exercise when we are saying lift ourselves by ourselves. And where is that? What is going to help us? Not someone else's words. Yes, those words will trigger our guidance, yes, but who is going to implement it? This intellect of this individual is going to say this is right, and I have to listen to this antavasin who is going to say that you know this is not good. And that voice, mostly what we are doing, abhi nahi sunna hai, we'll see it afterwards, right now the action is in my hand, let me take charge. Yes, how do I take charge? By facing the situation with a smile on my face, right? Sometimes it will seem pathetic, but yeah, to be in control of ourselves, that guru has to you know has to come in my own intellect. That guru is not going to be somewhere else outside of me. I have to remember the learnings that I have heard and implement them myself, right? That guru or that controller or that director is going to sit within me only. So therefore I have to give that amount of credit to that intellect and say, okay, boss, I'm listening to you, right? And I am giving you the control, right? And who is that I am that is that mind, right? Who are so far wanting to be emotional, wanting to be in control, yes. But who is much more in control? It is that it is that decision making faculty, which is that intellect, right? Another part in our relationships with the outside world, with the world in general, be it my family, be it my friends, be it my team, is to appreciate each person for the goodness, right? Rather than criticizing everything, like, especially if you watch any of those news channels now, what is, or any of the ads also, what is being done, the technique is to criticize. Look at that person, look at that actor, how that actor is behaving with their child, look at this person. Why should we criticize another? Why should we compare ourselves with someone else, right? So the journey to seeing that ananda everywhere is first by having that attitude of appreciation, right? Normally, what are we doing? Normally, we are saying that, okay, this person this person is of belonging to so and so place. That place has so many shortfalls, it is so and so. Or are we not looking at that person as asti bhati priya? Why can't we look at that, right? When we say namaste, can't we just acknowledge that divinity which is within this being, is also within the being of all outside of me, right? So that attitude will have to be brought in within me only. So whenever I see myself going towards the negativities, u-turn le lo. Tell yourself, take a u-turn, stop. We are the only ones who can see this kind of thinking pattern within us, right? And we are the only ones to correct it, just as we would in a child, right? At home, be it our own child, be it our own grandchild, be it some of us are teachers, etc. We see some goodness in the child, we appreciate it, right? So we see something negative, at that moment, if we are able to subtly change that kind of thinking, then it is going to pay us off multifold, right? Then to have that attitude of gratitude is going to be phenomenal. It is going to help us reach heights where we wouldn't otherwise. Be it handling projects, be it seeing sharply through our own transactions, right? It is going to bring us manifold benefits. So, and of course, at all times, like Gurudev would say, right, knowing that a situation is temporary, right? If it has come, it is going to end. It is not going to last forever, right? So that understanding should pull us out of any situation, should be able to help us bounce out of any situation, right? This too shall pass, even this will pass. This reminder, this self suggestion, we should keep our in our pocket at all times, right? अभी आया है, doesn't matter, अभी जाएगा भी, right? So entertain, थोड़ा कर लो entertain, right? If it has brought some tears, let the tears flow, but bounce out of it, right? That is most important. And much more important is to accept being alone, rather than putting a negativity to that aloneness and making it loneliness. Everyone is going to be alone. That is a fact of life. So why cry over it, right? Why not make it a joyous experience for ourselves, right? Why not learn to enjoy our own company? Why not learn something new daily? Give ourselves that half an hour daily to do something new, to go for a walk, to enjoy the beautiful nature around us, right? That practice can be done by ourselves only, right? So these were some small practices which I thought, which can be practical tips for us, right? To lift ourselves by ourselves. But for that, what is important? One is to see the pattern and to bring in the fact that I am Satchidananda at all times, and that is never going to change, right? So when you bring that truth into your focus from time to time, then to come out of those situations will become easier, right? So then, therefore, that clarity in knowledge is important, and more important is using the right kind of tools to face the challenges of life. And what are the tools? The tools are a educated intellect, and an obedient mind. Both of these will require some discipline. And who has to implement that discipline? We have to do it, right? Uddharet atmanatmanam, right? And of course, our Shastra gives us enough and more to help us through these kind of situations, right? To build the sadhana, what is the simple sadhanas that I can practice? So, Bhagavan Adi Shankaracharya ji says, Geyam Gita Nama Sahasram ध्येयं श्रीपतिरूपमजस्रं नेयं सज्जनसङ्गे चित्तं देयं दीनजनाय च वित्तं भज गोविन्दं भज गोविन्दं. So he gives the 4S, the tool 4S sadhana. What is this 4S? So he says one is study, go through Gita, grow through Gita, right? And we have enough and more ways to study Gita. We can do Gita chanting, we can do study of Bhagavad Gita. There is Bhagavad Gita course. There is on YouTube, there are enough and more talks on the Bhagavad Gita. Then there is Master Gita, Master Life, right? There are many ways to explore the Gita and make this Gita go through us and help us grow through it, right? Two is what? Surrender. When will that Shraddha come? When we have that surrender to the Lord within us. If we keep Him as that altar, and if we are able to, whatever agitations come to mind, right? Who is the person whom I can talk to at any time? Is that Bhagwan. So what is important there? The fourfold Shraddha. Shraddha in Bhagwan, Shraddha in Shastra, that it is leading me to the truth. Shraddha in Guru, because that Guru is the one who is connecting me with Shastra and Bhagwan, right? And then Shraddha in this Atma, Shraddha in yourself. Most important, Udaret Atmanatmanam. Don't forget that, right? And then third S is Satsang. Satsangatve Nisangatvam, Nisangatve Nirmohatvam, Nirmohatve Jivana Mukti, right? Nirmohatve Nishchalatatvam, Nishchalatatve Jivan Mukti, right? Satsang is that which is going to see you through all these experiences. Be it the smallest of falls, be it the greatest of rise, up to that Nishchala Tattva, right? Up to that Jivan Mukti. What is going to be the starting point, and what is going to be that continued practice with your own thoughts, even, is that Satsanga. Be it with gurus, be it with books, be it with your own thoughts, be it with the glories of the Lord. That Satsanga is going to definitely see us through. And to build that strength within, what then is important is service or seva, right? And in order to build that, gratitude, or in order to see that goodness in everything, the seva is going to help us. The karma yoga is going to help us. And therefore, like Gurudev says, give, 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 right? Giving more than what we take, right? Is and producing more than what we consume. That's part of our Chinmay Mission pledge. Definitely, this is going to help us. So if we are not even able to remember whatever points we discussed earlier, if we remember the 4S, what is the 4S? Study, swadhyaya, surrender, that is shraddha, satsanga, and fourth is seva, right? These four S's we should remember, we should practice, and definitely Bhagwan will see us through. And definitely these are going to empower us to lift ourselves by ourselves and not fall down again. And the moment we see the fall, that moment we will also rise. The bouncing back then will be faster than what we had even thought, right? So let us surprise ourselves and let us take to these four practices, right? I think we will stop here. If you have, I don't know, it's already time up. Yeah, you would have seen that some of the events which are coming up at SIF, right? One is the Mahalaya Amavasya, which allows us to offer our own gratitude to our Pitrus, right? To those who have gone past, those who had taught us various things, those who have been our mentors, right? Our gurus, our ancestors, right? Our purvajas, right? Mahalaya Amavasya is such a day for it. Do see if you can participate, even if it is online, right? Then there is also some online webinars and camps which are coming up. Participate in all these. These are going to help that satsang only, and these are going to help us build our own strength. Okay, so we'll stop here, right? We'll close with a prayer. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. लोका समस्ता सुखिनो भवन्तु. लोका समस्ता सुखिनो भवन्तु. लोका समस्ता सुखिनो भवन्तु. Hare Om. Thank you.